a movie made in 1941, a movie made in 2010. Both feature some of the most popular actors of their times, and both are about werewolves. This is X and Z Horror Movie Reviews, and I'm X with your Gen X perspective.
I'm Z with your Gen Z perspective.
And we're going to get right into it. So, The Wolfman, the original, 1941. This one kicked off the werewolf craze. I think it was the first, not the first werewolf movie, but the very first popular werewolf movie. It was such a success in its time that it had 3 sequels, despite the fact that the Wolfman died in the first one.
You would have thunk.
It was a bit of a surprise. It's a great movie as far as the Universal Monster movies go. It's black and white. It's, everything that you've seen, the classic imagery, some of my favorite horror movie imagery, the forest scenes with the fog all over the ground. It really set the mark. And it's been something that Hollywood has tried to recreate ever since then. And I don't know that they've ever really succeeded, although many have done some great werewolf films. All right. This movie was directed by George Wagner, and it starred Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, Evelyn Ankers, I forget how to pronounce it, and Bela Lugosi, a name everybody knows, also plays a part, although he's not the Wolfman. That would be Lon Chaney Jr. And it's the classic story that we have all come to know about the Talbot family. They're in merry old England, and the son comes home from America to discover a werewolf problem. And in this case, it's centered around a camp of gypsies. That's going to change for 2010, but that's okay. So this movie is it's very notable for a couple of things. Number one, the sensibilities of the time. So despite the fact that Lon Chaney Jr., Larry Talbot, is the hero, he's also a bit of a peeping Tom and a little heavy-handed with the ladies. So some of the things that would not fly these days, but that's okay. That was back then, different times.
Many years ago and all.
Many years ago. Also, this movie was known for some of the earliest very good special effects, and very good being a generous use of terms. We are all familiar with the classic Wolfman look, the face, the look, and how they achieved it. It was all physical effects back then. I mean, they had to glue hair on the faces and things like this. And it's notable for its transformation scene, which was, I believe, the first time that we've seen a man transform into a werewolf on screen. In this case, it was the man's legs. Don't know. Rumor has it that it took an entire day to film that. And it's just kind of a time lapse where the legs get hairier and hairier and hairier. And this is, of course, after he's been bitten by the werewolf, and then he turns into a werewolf himself. On that note, could they have done a better job with special effects? It's tough to say. Special effects are hard to achieve. They just, you never know what's going to happen when you're trying to create something that hasn't been seen before, and you never know what you're going to get. All right, this movie is also known for the screenplay written by Kurt Siodmak, and a lot of people kind of don't realize this, but he truly is the father of modern werewolves, because he took a original screenplay. This is not based on a book or a legend per se. I mean, werewolves have been around for many centuries, but he added the poem, the famous poem, "The Autumn Moon is Bright," and that whole bit. He also made silver the only element to be able to kill werewolves. that didn't exist before this movie. And he brought in the full moon concept. That was not a thing either. So all of these elements were brought in by this one screenwriter, and they were so good and the imagery was so powerful that they've lasted all these years, and now it's just ubiquitous with werewolf lore. So, as you can see, I'm a big fan of the 1941 original. Now we're going to kick it over to Z to see what he has to say.
The characters in this movie, the 1941 movie, are not overdone. They're just right, and they're very likable, very easy to like. You don't sit around like, maybe this character could have been, they could have developed them a little bit better. No, they're just right. And so, moving along, the movie also has a fantastic pace. It gets to the point. It does not dilly-dally with exposition, doesn't try to explain a lot of things. There's not a lot of backstory for unimportant side characters. None of that. It's only 70 minutes long total for the entire movie. So it's a really fun movie. It's kind of like going on a roller coaster. It's only like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, but wow, it's a lot of fun. So other than that, it doesn't try to be more than it is. So a lot of movies now have like philosophical meanings or deeper meanings or something that just doesn't fit in. It's like, it's the Wolfman. Special effects in this movie are quite good for its time. Like you were saying, they had to glue hair and fur to his legs. Now, this could probably be done in 45 seconds now that we have CGI and computers, but it's impressive with what they did back in 1941.
And it has that look of realism too.
Exactly.
I think that we miss.
And the Wolfman is actually a wolf man. It's not a monster, and it's not exactly a man. It's a wolfman. It's a mix. It's an actual mix. It's not going too monster. It's not going too human. It's perfect. A lot of just rights in this movie. Jumping over to 2010, the special effects are pretty good. They're okay. Like, there's some parts that they did right. Such as in the asylum scene, he transforms, the main character, protagonist, he transforms into a werewolf. And the scene is quite iconic, and it is quite well done. I must say, I do like this scene in particular, but there are some other scenes, such as the final fight scene between him and the other werewolf, who also turns out to be his father, is kinda not great. It's like, I don't know, when I first watched it was like, okay, but then like thinking back, I'm like, wow, that sucked bad. But that is to say, the movie is entertaining to some degree. It's got a lot of exposition in the beginning. It's like, could have gone without the 45 minutes. But there's another scene near the beginning of the movie that kind of kickstarts the whole movie, and that is when the protagonist is at a festival or camp of some sorts.
It's a gypsy camp.
It's a gypsy camp, and there's a werewolf running around, and people are hunting it, and he's killing people and all this. And so the protagonist goes to hunt this werewolf, and he ends up getting bitten on the shoulder, and the curse is transferred to him, and now he's a werewolf. The protagonist in this movie feels like Batman, just without the suit. He's very emo, he's very emotional. And this is not what we saw back in 1941, where the guy was simply trying to get the girl. This is much different. He is very emotional. I'm not even kidding. Watch the movie. It's Batman. It's Batman, just without the really low voice. And he's not all about vengeance. So, other than that,
A little bit of vengeance.
I mean, okay, a little bit. He's not vengeance. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to say is that the villain, the father, the curse holder in this movie, it's okay. He's okay. He's not a bad villain, in my opinion. He's okay. I don't really see why he's evil. Not really seeing a whole lot of motive for him to be evil, but he's evil. And he does an okay job. So, I'm gonna have to say, 2010 Wolfman, not my favorite, but, what are you gonna do? What?
I have always liked the 2010 film, and it's just drenched in its gothicness. It's the kind of movie that I can put on the TV and just leave it on, because every time you turn around, it's this, Victorian haunted, like, werewolf story the way that you want it to look. And it checks all the boxes in that department. So this one was directed by Joe Johnston, very experienced director, a lot of hits under his belt. Larry Talbot in this one is played by Benicio del Toro. His father is played by Anthony Hopkins. The lady love interest is Emily Blunt. And for good measure, Elrond is in there. That's right, Agent Smith. It's Hugo Weaving playing the inspector. And he still kind of looks like he wants to say Mr. Anderson here and there, but he doesn't. This movie, wow, it's got a lot of people that like it and love it. It's got a lot of people that don't. I fall into the like it, love it category myself, but I get it. So it does drag in some places. And there is an exposition issue. And some of the motivations here and there are a little paint by numbers. And of course, the final scene that you had talked about could have been better. Okay,
You so
yeah,
the flames. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's nothing
right.
I can do.
Right. The actors all do a really good job. Anthony Hopkins, I think we have to call is the standout here. Usually is in his movies, although the Hannibal Schnauzer at the end is a little, I don't know, grandfatherish in its execution for the special effects. But overall, I would say that 2010 was at least a decent remake, and in my opinion, a very good remake of the original. And again, we've had a lot of werewolf movies over the years. Very few have made the mark of what I would call a good movie. I mean, just a handful, really. But this is one of them and does a very good job. Now, we are counting down to the new Wolfman movie. We reviewed The Invisible Man by Leigh Whannell, who is going to be the director of the new Wolfman. It comes out this coming Friday. We're going to see it. We're going to review it. So look for that coming up. And until then, I'm X.
I'm Z.
And we appreciate you watching. So long!
Okay. It's like that good lukewarm water that you didn't want but you needed.
What?
I don't know.
I don't even understand.
I don't know. I was gonna say porridge, but then that's like kind of like a pimp back in the olden days. What is the what's the thing called? Like the It's a little glass.
A monocle.
A monocle.
That's not
That's
a pimp.
it. That's not a pimp?
No, a pimp is... We're going to get to the pimp later. Okay.
That's how I think
What?
of a pimp back in 1940.
No.
That's how I think.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a difference between a top hat and a monocle and a pimp. Where did you get that?
All right. No pimping.
All right.
Fine. No pimping.